naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders, just to please a mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. So glad to be here with both of
Always
you.
good to be here with you.
It's going to be great.
October.
Which is October. And speaking of spooky month, brace yourselves, everybody. Let's go. All right.
Oh boy.
Okay,
So,
what do you got?
Not every topic in October is a spooky one, but we try to throw a bunch in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because spooky. So in 1971, so I should preface this.
Spooky year.
It is a spooky year. There is some debate on what exactly was happening. There aren't any really original reports of what happened in this particular spot, but
Okay.
I wanted to talk about this. So in 1971, there were some geologists from the Soviet Union who were drilling down into the earth, or there was an oil rig that fell. The story varies, like I was saying. They were drilling into the earth in Turkmenistan. There happened to be, wherever it was that they were drilling, there happened to be a cavern of some sort.
Okay.
They drilled into it, and
I see it.
in fell.
Yeah.
Some say like a oil rig fell in, but what happened was the land surrounding this cavern collapsed into itself.
Okay.
So a sinkhole.
Okay.
Formed.
So they probably hadn't gotten
sort of.
very far down, and then the whole thing just sort of collapsed under them.
Sure.
Well, you're gonna
kind
tell us
of.
about it.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh boy. Okay.
So what ended up happening, so it did puncture and it all collapsed. And in this cavern, there happened to be a lot of natural gas.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
And
Okay.
the engineers, the folks there were nervous that it was poisonous gas and they didn't want it to spread. So they, what else do you do?
I know the story. I know
Yeah,
the
you
story,
do.
Rachel, yes.
What else do you do? You got to set it on
Light it up.
fire.
That's what I thought you were gonna say. What a terrible idea.
Isn't it such a terrible idea? Well, they
It's
thought it
worse
would
than
only.
you know.
I just saw this video of this guy of course in Australia, who decided to throw a bunch of flammable stuff onto a well blazing barbecue that was kind of had a cover over it, and so it just immediately exploded back out on him. This sounds sort of like the scientific equivalent of that.
Yeah.
Times a million. Yeah.
So bad. So they thought it was just like a little tiny cavern, right? Like it's no big deal. It'll burn. It'll be fine. You just, you set it on fire and all the gas burns out and then you're fine and you're good to go. Well, very similarly to how me and my roommates learned about the gas leak with our dryer, things are not as simple as they might appear. Fun little note. If you smell something
did you blow
funky,
your dryer up?
No, but we did smell gas for a month and a half, and we didn't realize it was gas.
Rachel,
and then
no.
got it fixed. It was fine. It was
What?
natural gas, and we were fine. No explosions
not fine.
happened. We're
Okay,
fine.
good.
It's fixed now. PSA, it's fixed. It's fine. I'm okay, and I am one of the people. It could have been really
We're
bad.
so
okay?
lucky you are here. Oh my God.
Maybe it was only just a little leak.
It was very small
that
leaks.
wafer
We could
thing.
only kind of smelled a little bit, and we kept the door closed because we could smell it a little more when the dryer was running, and we were like, that's not great. So we closed the door.
God, Rachel.
You want me to make this worse on this fun little tangent? We did burn candles down here.
No.
No.
Just to make it a little worse. It's fixed now. We're safe.
Listeners, don't do that.
No, don't do that.
Don't
if
be
you smell
Rachel.
something weird, maybe get that tested for for reasons and things. And I will say
If
our
you
landlord
smelt
was very...
it, dealt with it.
Yeah, I will say our landlord
Something
was
like
very responsive and responsible and like
Yeah,
got
they better
people
be.
out here immediately, and we were overall okay. We ended up making jokes about it. We're fine. The leak is
Speaking
fixed
of being
now.
responsible,
Yes, speaking
what
of...
do they do with this gas
well, obviously, like, they set it on fire because that'll burn all the natural gas, all of the potential, like,
We're back
poisonous
to the
gas
cavern
from
in
spreading. Yes,
Kazakhstan.
now we're back in the
not the
cavern.
dryer.
Turkmenistan.
Not the dryer. Oh, so sorry. No, but they expected it to stop burning after a couple hours, and it didn't. And it kept going.
Sure didn't.
And kept going. And kept going. And
Yep.
Victoria, because Kirk seems to know, it's still burning.
Still burning.
You know what? I think I've seen pictures of this.
You absolutely have. So
Yes.
there is some thought that it actually is finally beginning to close after 54 years of being on fire as of the recording of this podcast.
Doesn't
I
it have
just
some
read that. It was
nickname
starting to
now,
slow
like
down, yeah?
the mouth of hell
It-
or something?
The
Yeah.
door to hell, yes.
Door to hell. There
Go
we
to
go.
hell, yeah.
Door to hell. It has a couple different names. Door to hell, gates of hell. Officially, it's the Shining of Karakum, also known as the Darvaza Gas Crater.
Okay, then.
And now,
it
when you
is
say crater, I think people are thinking,
like a
like,
small thing.
how big is this?
So it has a diameter of about 200 to 230 feet, or 60 to 70 meters across.
It's so ridiculous.
It's about 30 meters deep or 98 feet deep. So it's a
Okay.
big... It's not
Big hole in the
small.
ground.
It's a giant hole in the ground that
And there's just
has
gas
just been
leaking out of everywhere,
consistently
and,
and
there's
it's
flames,
just burning. Yeah. It was set fire just to prevent gases from going, and then it just kept going. In 2010, the president of Turkmenistan actually recommended that measures were taken in place to help stop the influence of it around, 40 years later. And this same president actually wants to extinguish the crater because, believe it or not, there might be issues with health and or the environment or other things in that particular space. Yeah.
Hasn't it become like a little bit of a tourist attraction?
It absolutely has, yes. Because it is huge and you can see it from very, very far. And in fact, there are gas bubbles there are other craters in the area that are filled with water. And even 23 kilometers away from it, there are gas bubbles that come up in those craters, which is pretty wild.
Very gassy. The Earth had something to eat that wasn't very good with
it
it.
just doesn't agree.
Very gassy area. Yeah.
It's just generally. Generally, though, the doors of hell apparently have started to shut a little bit. It's apparently it now only has a few pockets of small fires now. They are drilling. They have wells in other spots nearish the crater to help capture that natural gas.
I mean, that's a fuel source, yeah.
It is a fuel source. So they're starting to capture that natural gas, and that is helping put the fires out. However, the fires have been going and going and going for
Since
the last
1971.
since 1971.
1971 was the year that the book of The Exorcist was published. So, coincidence?
Yeah.
Coincidence?
It could be.
Yes.
So there's been a lot of things going on. There's been other folks. So there's this man that I was reading about. His name was George Karunis. He was the first person to actually descend into and go into go all the way to the bottom
Go into the gates of hell.
Into the gates of hell. He had a extreme like heat suit that he wore to help keep him safe. According to him, I had an article from National Geographic. According to him, he said that he felt a bit like a baked potato in that suit.
Fair enough.
Which, I mean, you're going down, it's just, oof. It's pretty hot. So he went down, and he actually rappelled down into the burning pit and ended up going down, all the way down to the bottom, and then like checked out the base of it. It was a very similar suit to what firefighters would use or volcanologists will use when you're close to any sort of like high heat. So he was the first one to be able to do that. I don't have much else. It's just this really wild, like, gas crater that is starting to close, but has been burning for a very long time. You can imagine the millions of gallons of gas that are just completely burned away. It's just really nuts, and I just wanted to share with all of you the insanity that is the gates of hell. In the spooky month.
Where could people find photos of that easily?
Oh, it'll be in our newsletter and on our it'll be on all of our social media, of course.
And how does someone sign up for our newsletter, Rachel?
Oh, you go to strangebynature podcast.com and sign up right there. You can just put in
so
your
easy.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I put together a very curated, amazing little newsletter with pictures and fun little things, and you can just click on it and click even the listen, and that's all. That's a great way to listen to the episode if you don't have a podcast app, which I'm assuming you do because you're listening.
Listening right now.
Yeah.
But if you want to get that newsletter with all the tasty photos, that's the place to get it.
Yeah. My sources this week was an article on Discover Wildlife from BBC by Daniel Graham, as well as Wikipedia, and I also had the National Geographic article Entering Door of Hell by Stuart Thornton, and I also had Pop Science, and that's all. All right, well, that is all I have for you all this week. The Gates of Hell. Fun times. We are going to take a quick break, and when we return, it'll be Victoria.
Hey, we're back. Humans are an amazingly diverse species. Obviously, we come in many different colors and hair textures and facial features and sizes, and we inhabit regions as diverse as the Arctic tundra and the tropical rainforest.
Right.
Fair enough, yeah.
And you know, there's a pretty big variation in height. So like
you
leaving
don't
us
say.
Yes. Rachel.
I know I'm perfectly average, but also both of you are tall.
It's true, but Rachel, you are exactly one Rachel tall. I mean,
that is very true, and I'm very proud of that one Rachel
standard scientific unit of measure. We haven't mentioned the Rachel lately as a unit of measure.
No, it's been a minute.
It is spread into my everyday life. I would like you both to know. I made a bunch of second graders, fifth graders. I'm like, it has to be at least one Rachel tall. I'm talking about a log. It was great.
Nice.
And they were using it. They thought it was funny.
That's great.
So if you leave aside, you know, genetic mutations or growth hormone problems like achondroplasia, otherwise known as dwarfism, or, you know, acromegaly or gigantism, the shortest human populations are generally thought to be some pygmy peoples in Africa, where the average height of adult men is about 150 centimeters or 4 feet 11 inches.
Oh, okay. Wow.
That's the average height of adult men.
Woo.
And the tallest ethnic groups are, as far as I can tell, the Dinka of South Sudan and the Kampa of Tibet, where adult men average 180 centimeters or 5 feet 11.
Ooh.
All right.
So
Why not?
On average, Kampa men in Tibet are about 20% taller than pygmy men in Africa.
Yeah, an entire
Okay.
foot. Jeez.
Yeah. And today I'm going to talk about a different vertebrate species that gives humans a run for our money when it comes to physical variability.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm intrigued, Victoria.
It's a fish.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
It's a fish.
Sure.
The Arctic Char.
Oh.
Why not?
Salvelinus alpinus. It's a fish in the salmon family. So char are related to trout and salmon.
So sorry.
Victoria just realized what she said. It's amazing.
Alpinus.
Rachel and I are both children.
Salvelinus alpinus.
Alpinus. There we go. That's a little better pronunciation.
It's okay. I chuckled anyway.
It's a fish in the salmon family.
She's going to try to recover and be professional after this. Keep going.
Similar in a lot of ways to salmon or lake trout. They are the freshwater fish that is found the farthest north. They have a circumpolar distribution. That means they're found in the north all the way around the pole. So Asia, North America, and Europe. So this fish can be found quite far north. In fact, there's a lake called Lake Hazen on Ellesmere Island, which is the furthest north island in Canada and almost the furthest north point of land that exists.
Yeah.
And that is the only fish found in Lake Hazen, is the Arctic char.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
But it also is found somewhat further south, like occasionally it's found in deep lochs in Scotland or like very cold lakes in England or in alpine lakes. So they can live in lakes or streams or rivers. Similar to salmon, they can be, and I can never say this word, anadromous. That's when, so for Arctic char, they start life in fresh water. And unlike salmon, who spend most of their lives in the ocean and then come back to spawn and die, actually, starting when they're between 4 and 13 years old, Arctic char make an annual migration to the ocean, and they come back to spawn.
Okay.
And they can do that year after year. So they're much
So
more...
the reverse of a Uno reverse of a salmon.
Well, I mean, both salmon and Arctic char are born in fresh water and come back to fresh water to spawn. But Arctic char only, like, they make an annual trip instead of, like, however many years salmon
I misunderstood.
do.
Continue.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Got
No
it.
worries. A lot of the populations, though, are landlocked and never leave their home lake. For example, pretty much all the Arctic char in Alaska are just landlocked.
Okay.
Getting onto the variability, this species is known for having extremely different looking so-called morphs, which are not necessarily the same as subspecies, and sometimes they can be found in the same lake. For starters, there are dwarf and giant Arctic char. Dwarf char have an average length of 8 centimeters, or 3 inches, and giant char have an average length of 40 centimeters, or 16 inches.
That is a big difference.
So that's
Sure
a 500% difference.
Whew.
If you're comparing it to humans and their measly 20% difference. The largest specimens can weigh in around 9 kilograms or 20 pounds, and then the record holder is even bigger than that.
Oh, man, of course.
In one Norwegian lake, there were 2 distinct populations of char, one that lives and breeds in the deep parts of the lake and are small with a maximum length of 14 centimeters, and then other ones that live in the shallow water and grow bigger up to 40 centimeters. They eat different kinds of food. They spawn at completely different times of the year, September versus February, I think it was.
Huh.
And based on some genetic research that was done recently, it seems that these may be evolving into separate species.
Sure, yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Another lake in Iceland has 4 different populations that vary by size, color, habitat, and food source. There's
Wild.
a fish-eating one that is large and lives at the surface, a plankton-eating one that's sort of medium-sized and lives at the surface, a snail-eating one that's enormous and lives at the bottom and has like snail-adapted mouth parts, and a dwarf species that's small and also lives at the bottom and kind of like hides among the rocks.
Okay, so you've now answered one of the questions I had, which was going to be like, sometimes when I use that term morph, it can mean like a
Just
variation between, well, coloration is what you often see it with birds and stuff, but you can see birds with different morphs coming out of the same nest, for example, for birds.
Yeah.
Where but this seems like you're saying they keep to themselves. It's like one can't give birth to a different morph. They only give birth to the same morph?
I think there's separate populations, but I was not able to find as much information as I wanted, and some of the articles that I would have liked to read were not open access, and I couldn't really dig into them, unfortunately.
Okay.
So it's possible that, it's possible that there could be some overlap, or they interbreed, or yeah.
Because generally with speciation, when we're speaking speciation, it is they are not able to reproduce and produce like viable offspring more than anything else. Like when it comes to speciation, as well as like differing of habitats and food and things like that too. But
these morphs definitely can breed with each other.
Okay.
And they also can interbreed.
Why are these considered different morphs and not different species?
Yeah.
But if they can interbreed, there you go.
They can interbreed, and in fact, they can also interbreed with lake trout and salmon. So they're hybrids as well, making things more confusing.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah. One way they don't differ in size is by sex. Males and females are pretty much the same size, which is kind of interesting. But the color can also be wildly variable. So, like a lot of these deeper living ones, the smaller ones tend to be kind of like olive, dull green, whatnot. On average, if you look at Arctic Char as a whole, they're kind of brown or greenish brown. They have light spots on them, or sometimes pink spots, but their base color can be silver or gray or bluish even, or green or brown, or anywhere in between. And a lot of them have... it's a little unclear to me if this only happens while they're breeding or if it's also at other times of the year. But especially the males will develop brightly colored belly and even flanks. It can be yellow or orange or gold or pink or red. They're gorgeous looking fish, some of them. If you Google it, you'll see some really beautiful pictures.
Or go on our social media.
Yeah, go on our social media.
Or sign up for our
newsletter. And there was one blog post that I was reading about the history of Arctic Char in New England, where because of the big size variation in these different morphs, they were thought for many years to be different species until people figured out that they weren't. But it's, it does sort of, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but are these different morphs, like in this Icelandic lake, in the process of evolving into different species? They could be, because, diversity of species in the north is just not very high. One of the reasons is that there were all these glaciers for hundreds of thousands of years.
It's a little hard to be alive
called glaciation.
when there's glaciers everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And so, a lot of the species that are there are ones that move back in, and there is possibly
they're millions of years behind.
Yeah, they're millions of years behind. So there's a speciation process that could well be happening as these few species that are there sort of expand to fill different niches.
It's very cool.
10,000 years is really not that long in speciation kind of time scale. Yeah.
Yeah, and the last ice age lasted about 2 million years, so the species down south had 2 million years more to get through that process.
Yes. That's really all I have. I just thought it was kind of cool that there's this one animal that's like so extremely different in lots of different ways.
Yeah.
My sources this week, I got some information from Wikipedia. There was that blog post, or I guess it was a magazine article I mentioned, Northern Woodlands Magazine from winter 2019. And then there was some information from Plumbers Arctic Lodges has a blog that had some helpful information about char. Alaska stuff going on. And the Alaska Department of Fish and Game as well.
Cool. Thanks, Victoria.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, it'll be...
Hey everybody, welcome back. I have a creature feature for you this week.
Woo!
It's one of those ones that I can't believe we haven't talked about yet. They're really odd.
They've been coming up a lot recently. That kind of like, how have we not talked this?
Yeah. I bring you the Sea Squirt.
Oh.
How have we not talked about that yet? I thought we did.
No, we have not. Very strange. Sea squirts are weird little creatures.
Yeah,
I know
they
it is
are.
October, and we try to include something a little spooky once in a while in our topics. And they do have something that kind of fits the bill, I believe, but I'll save it until the end. So what is a sea squirt? If you're a landlocked landlubber like myself, you may not have ever seen one in person. These don't hang out in the lakes and ponds of the interior of the country where I live. The word sea in their name is a pretty good clue here that we're talking about a sea or ocean creature.
Woohoo!
If you've never seen one, I now have the difficult task of describing them to you on an audio-only podcast. Reference the aforementioned newsletter you should all be signed up for. But if you're not yet signed up for the newsletter, let me try to describe this for you. Sea squirts come in three main varieties. They can be solitary, just a single individual. They can be social, like a bunch clumped together. Or they can be what I think of, this is not a scientific term, but super social, and be a bunch of very small individuals living as a colony. There's kind of three different main groups they come in. In general, though, if you picture a sea squirt, especially if you've seen them before, you're probably picturing either a solo or like a small social clump. They are tubular and fleshy.
They certainly are.
I think tubular and fleshy pretty much sums it up. But they can
like
variously be...
They're kind of like if a jellyfish and a sea sponge mixed together and had a baby. This would be a sea squirt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They can variously be plain, sort of cream-colored, or brightly monocolored, or even brightly patterned, so that the exterior look can be quite different. Size-wise, they can be as small as 5 millimeters to as large as 100 millimeters, or about 4 inches. They are, this is a lovely term, sac filter feeders.
Yeah, they are.
They're basically just these tubular sacs that attach to rocks and pump water through their bodies, filtering out plankton to eat.
And yet,
there's two
just
openings.
like sea urchins, they are an animal.
Yeah.
They don't look like it.
Nah, they kind of don't. Like they have two openings, right? So there's one on the top and then one on the side. And water is pumped in through the top and then out the side. And I say pumped, but they also have like these little hair-like cilia that help move water through their system. And this gets a little Halloween-esque here, but they look a little bit like a disembodied heart pumping seawater instead of blood.
Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah,
does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And
I've
they
seen
get the
them
name
move.
Sea...
That makes sense.
Yeah, they get the name Sea Squirt because if they're removed from the water or exposed at low tide, they tend to shoot or squirt water out. Now, as far as animals go, like you kind of hinted at, Rachel, they're pretty weird. The siphon is the part you would normally notice. There's actually another part of their body as well, and that's the part that attaches to the rock that they live on. And they cannot move. They are permanently attached to the rock. But that part that's attached to the rock is where their digestive and reproductive systems are. And one of the really weird things I learned about them that I didn't previously know before doing a little deeper dive on them is that when you have a colonial sea squirts, like that are all living together, they basically fuse together and they share one cloaca. So
Okay.
I don't.
to refresh
love
those of you
that.
not familiar, the cloaca is essentially your anus.
I don't love.
It's
Which
sort of
you
a
should be, because
multi-purpose
I
opening, but
definitely talked about this like ages ago. Also,
we've
don't
talked about
love
cloacas.
that. And we've talked about anuses.
We
This
have.
is a weird show.
So if you have these colonial animals all with their own siphon opening, gathering food, but they all fuse the rest of their bodies together, and you're like, you know what? Let's just have one anus. Wouldn't that be simpler? Like you
no,
said,
I
these
don't
are
think it would be simpler.
well.
Maybe simpler.
I mean,
Better?
yeah, it
That's
is
a good question.
technically simpler.
I
These are really weird
don't
animals.
Like it.
So let's
Yeah.
get to what I think is the weirdest part about this animal, though. I think this
That
is even
isn't
weirder.
the weirdest.
No, it's not.
God.
So there's many boxes that we like to put animals into. And we talked about this on the show so many times. We like to say that nature laughs at our little boxes, right? And this animal is no exception. In our hierarchy of classifying life, we start at the kingdom level. That's the first division you make. Generally, that's either going to be, is it a plant or an animal? And yeah, I know there's some other categories, but generally,
Fungus.
in the simplest terms, we're like plant or animal. Some things don't fit into those. This does, though. This is an animal, all right? But the very next box you need to divide into is what's called the phylum level, or the phylum boxes, if you will. And we have to choose if it's a chordate or an invertebrate. So in less sciencey terms, the question we often use to start to split animals into groups is, does it have a backbone or does it lack a backbone? This is actually way oversimplifying it too much, but that's like the third grade way of explaining it. Chordates or vertebrates would be things like all mammals, fish, dinosaurs, birds, things with a spine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Invertebrates are actually divided into smaller phylum, like mollusks, annelids, arthropods. So we get things like clams, worms, slugs, sea cucumbers, but also more complex things like insects, spiders, crabs, and lobsters. So thinking about this fleshy tube attached to rocks, the answer seems pretty clear, but I'll be generous and give you some extra information. If you slice them open, you won't find a spine, and they are a fleshy.
Yes.
Oh,
sack,
good.
right?
I was worried that you were going to say that they do have a spine, and what you thought you knew it doesn't exist.
Yeah, and you won't find any kind of central cord that really resembles a spine. So which box do we put them into, the invertebrate box or the chordate box? Make your selection now, because here comes the answer. If you said invertebrates, you are incorrect.
Kirk.
That's right.
Kirk.
Yeah. And this is what makes them so strange. These animals are chordates. But when you look at them, you'd be easily forgiven for getting that wrong, because you're like, there's no spine going on here. Like, what do you mean they're not invertebrates? Well, here's the thing. They don't live their whole life attached to a rock. Adult sea squirts can send out both eggs and sperm into the water that will then join together while they're freely floating out there in the water. And once you have the sperm and egg come together, development happens very rapidly. And these fertilized eggs turn into little larvae that can actually swim around in the water. They have cute little tails, they have fins, and they swim around freely, quite different from the adults. They have all the characteristics we would associate with a chordate, as well, including what's called a notochord, which is, you can think of it as like a proto-spinal cord. They're very small animals, so this is not like a big, massive structure, but it's there. And that's why we call them chordates.
But it looks like a little tadpole, basically.
Yeah, exactly. They're like little tadpoles.
Huh.
It only takes about 12 hours to go from fertilized egg to a tadpole-like swimming larva, which to me is crazy impressive.
That's
12 hours.
12 hours?
Fast.
Yeah. And then it takes as little as 2 weeks to reach maturity. And that's mind-boggling.
What?
But then something really interesting happens. When the larva touches a hard surface, like bumps into a hard surface, their body reacts by gluing itself to that surface.
Okay.
That,
Okay?
I mean,
This
that
little,
works.
Better
I
hope it's a good
suppose.
little
one.
tadpole swimming along, bumps into something hard, and then like, loop, uh-oh, what's going on? I can't move. I'm stuck to this rock. Their body then goes through metamorphosis, but unlike most metamorphosis processes we're like used to, where an animal emerges more complex than before, the sea squirt actually simplifies its body. They lose their tail, they lose their fins, they lose their notochord, although it becomes a cerebral ganglion, if you want to be technical. They then become just a fleshy sack on a rock for their entire adult life. And this is sometimes called regressive metamorphosis. And this leads to my very tenuous Halloween tie-in. Some people like to say that once it attaches to the rock, it digests its own brain.
Oh.
This sounds great for clickbait and like a good Halloween like a good Halloween story. But to be fair, the larval sea squirts don't really have much of a brain to start with, so it's not really accurate to say that. They have a tiny clump of about 177 total neurons.
Okay, that's not
their
a lot.
entire,
That is not a lot. of
brain, if you will. They do digest or recycle things like their fins and their tail, but I'm afraid I must bust the myth this week that they actually eat their own brains like some kind of zombie cannibal. Adult sea squirts, while they aren't going to win any intelligence contests, still do have a brain, and it is larger than that of the larvae. And really, the final sea squirt itself is way, 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 way larger than the larvae. So this idea that they're like somehow, digesting themselves, it's like, well, in the same way, I guess a frog a tadpole digests its tail. It's like it gets absorbed to make the other animal. So we really do need to stop spreading the cannibal zombie sea squirt stories online. And trust me, there are a lot of them out there. But it sounds good. Why let the truth get in the way of a good story, right? But they are truly bizarre creatures that you'd be forgiven for mistaking as an invertebrate. But yeah, they don't eat their own brain. So I think it's also kind of on a Halloween note. If we don't talk about horror stories, think about the horror of being like a free swimming creature that once you so much as touch a solid object, you are now stuck there for the rest of your life. That is a pretty good Halloween horror story right there, I think.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't.
Don't be a sea squirt then. Don't be a sea squirt.
I wouldn't want to touch anything.
Yeah. Well, that's what I have for you this week. My sources were Doll News, Neuro Dojo, and Wikipedia. That's all we got this week, folks.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you
for listening. See you next week.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing the strange world with all our listeners. If you'd be so kind as to leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, that would be great. God bless other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach us by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can check out our website, strangebynaturepodcast.com, and you can support the show with ad-free episodes at patreon.com/strangebynature. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.